This is WLBT Jackson.
From Mississippi's #1 news team, this is the WLBT 5 p.m. report. Good afternoon. In Jackson, leaders of the state's House and Senate are calling for revenue increases one day before the 1991 legislative session begins.
And in the Persian Gulf, the allies are standing strong behind the demand for Iraq to get out of Kuwait as the deadline draws near. Good evening. I'm Maggie Wade.
And I'm Bert Case. In a highly unusual move, the Speaker of the House and the Lieutenant Governor of Mississippi called reporters in essence, say a tax increase is needed. They were careful, however, not to call for any specific tax increase.
That has been addressed.
Dye and Ford were joined at the news conference by State School Superintendent Richard Thompson, Higher Education Commissioner Ray Clear, and Junior College Chief Olin Ray. Such revenue sources as eliminating sales tax exemptions and further cuts in some areas were mentioned as possible ways to get more revenue for education.
The problem is very real and poses a genuine threat to our state's continued progress. It is our opinion that consideration must be given to every realistic and reasonable revenue source.
At this point, it would be folly for me to say that I thought the sales tax would pass in the House. We're not trying to go around the legislative process. We think that the committee process is the proper place for those decisions to be made, because it's the committee process that instilled those mandates and programs, and we also, if we're going to change that direction, then it's the committee process that should be involved in making those cuts and also restoring those cuts. I mean, who is for taxes?
Both Ford and Dye said it is not likely any gambling revenue source would pass in the legislature. The Tax Commission estimates sales tax exemptions could total $400 million. Governor Ray Mabus has said repeatedly he is opposed to any general tax increase such as income or sales taxes. He has sent revenue packages to the legislature, but so far they have been rejected. The governor joins us live now from his office in the Capitol to respond to those statements today by Dye and Ford. Governor, thank you for joining us on our 5 p.m. report.
Thanks, Bert. I'm glad to be on your first 5 p.m. report, and I'm glad you're back in one piece from Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, sir. It's not actually our first 5 p.m. report. We've been doing one. We did one way back in the late 60s and the early 70s, but thanks anyway for being here.
First one is since I've been governor, I'll put it that way.
That's for sure. Is there any chance that you'll change your mind about a tax increase?
Well, I think what the Lieutenant Governor and Speaker said today was great. I think that we're finally moving in the direction of solving this problem that we've had. They said that they thought education had traditionally been underfunded. I absolutely agree. They said that we couldn't harm one section of education to help another. I absolutely agree. And they said we didn't want any major cuts in education. I absolutely agree with that. What I just saw in your clip said, the Lieutenant Governor said any reasonable and realistic, and I don't think a general sales or income tax is either one, either reasonable or realistic, because I'm convinced that it will throw Mississippi into a recession. It'll cost us a lot more money, and you've got to be fair not only to the school children, but you've also got to be fair to the taxpayers of the state.
Is there any tax increase you would accept?
Well, I've sent a lot of proposals. There have been a lot of proposals that have come to me that I've accepted. Surely there's some middle ground here. I mean, the long-distance telephone tax of out-of-state calls, we tax in-state calls today. We don't tax out-of-state. I think that's fair. I think it's fair to raise revenues on some things that haven't been raised for a long time, and specific things that I've outlined before. And I've been working with the legislative leadership. I've been working with Dr. Thompson, Dr. Clear, and Dr. Ray in terms of making sure we don't cut education, in terms of making sure we don't hurt it, and in terms of making sure that we finance it the best way possible. Now, I'm real happy that the magnitude of the problem is out there, and that there's movement in both sides, the legislature and the executive branch, to solve it, and I'm confident there's some common ground.
Thank you so very much for appearing on our program. Governor Ray Mabus live from his office in the Capitol. Maggie?
And still ahead, the U.S. allies are standing firm behind the January 15th deadline.
And later, Walt Grayson will take a look at the foundation of American music. Stay with us.
For just $1.99, you can get an Arby's Golden Hits combo.
What are those?
Bacon cheddar deluxe and a bag of fries, tangy cheddar cheese sauce,
And fully bacon eyes.
or the beef and cheddar with some golden fries. Golden Hit combos, try one on for size.
I can't really decide.
Either one is yummy,
Just $1.99.
but make your mind up real fast. We're talking limited time.
Golden Hits combos, just $1.99.
Are my car repairs covered under the warranty?
What are my legal alternatives if my husband leaves?
If the product I bought is faulty, what legal alternatives do I have?
Need legal advice quickly? Call the Law Line, 1-900-420-4200. Get legal advice from the convenience of your phone for $3 a minute. The call is charged directly to your phone bill. You will speak to experienced licensed attorneys about your legal questions when you call the Law Line. Do you need to know what the law says about your problem? If so, call the Law Line, 1-900-420-4200.
Moms have to get up early to make their rounds.
How's my patient?
They know the way to doctor their family's coughs is with Robitussin.
Spoon.
Because more doctors and pharmacists recommend Robitussin than any other cough medicine.
Spoon. Not you too. Spoon.
I think he's coming down with a math test.
Robitussin, recommended by more doctors, pharmacists, and Dr. Mom. And for nighttime relief of colds with coughs, use Robitussin Night Relief.
It's surprising how many of us, in how many different ways, have a special need for vitamins, even when we try to live the best we can. Fortunately, Nature Made makes more than 120 vitamins and minerals with no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. Enough for all the different kinds of people and all the different ways they live. Nature Made, the more you know, the better you'll feel.
Secretary of State James Baker says Iraq can't buy more time by finally offering to talk.
Baker says the U.S. and its allies stand behind the January 15th deadline the United Nations set for Iraq to get out of Kuwait or face the possible use of force. Baker responded to reports that Iraqi President Saddam Hussein might be willing to negotiate if he gets more time. Meanwhile, Baker got votes of confidence from British forces and NATO's Secretary General. Both say there's not the slightest drift among the alliance from the demand that Iraq get out of Kuwait.
4 Iraqi warplanes are said to be landing in Saudi Arabia sometime this afternoon. Their pilots are planning to defect. The information comes from a reliable Saudi Arabian source who said he would give it if his name was not used. The source does not know where the planes will land. This is said to be the first time planes have crossed the border seeking shelter, though there have been many reports of ground troop defection. Woodie Assaf joins us now to take a look at the weather situation. Woodie, it's nice to be on the 5 o'clock with you.
You know, I'm excited, Bert, because it's like, I'm not going to say how far back we went, but, you know, we started with the 5 o'clock news and weather, and then we did
Late
5
60s?
and 6, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm kind of excited. I feel like I'm starting all over again.
What does the weather look like, Woodie?
More rain.
Okay, Woodie will show you why right after this. Stay with us.
I'm a second-half quarterback.
Well, that was a stellar performance.
Super Buckets.
Have some chicken. You look weak. His arm is weak. It's called aging.
From Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Trivia, guys. Who has the record for most fumbles? You mean before today?
15 pieces of chicken or a supersized bucket of hot wings, just $9.99 each.
Wait till the second half.
All right, rally.
Anytime you're ready, gentlemen.
Super Buckets from KFC.
Afraid of this.
It's so nice to know that MEA is here for you.
S&K entire stock clearance sale. Action.
Choose from hundreds of suits, $99.97 to $199.97. Every suit on sale. Famous names like Adolfo, Robert Stock, and,
Henry Grethel. Scene 2.
S&K has zipline raincoats by Bodney 500 for only
$79.97. Scene 3.
And hundreds of sport coats are just $89.97.
Not bad. Now let's try one without the dummy.
Don't miss S&K's biggest ever entire stock clearance sale.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs. 2 built homes that the wolf blew down, but the smart little pig who built a Duran home on his property with no money down lived happily ever after.
Building since 1959, we put the same quality into our most affordable homes as we do our largest custom homes. If you own property, we'll build your home with no money down and no closing costs. Call now and see how affordable a Duran home can be.
Now, what's the moral of the story?
If anybody can, Duran can.
You know, and talking to folks about what they'd like to see the most of, we get so many people saying, please give us the river stages. And folks, you got it. Cairo, Illinois, 51.7 up 0.2. Memphis, 36 even up 0.6. Greenville, 46.6 up 0.5. Will crest at 48.2 on the 14th. Vicksburg is 40 3/10 up 0.5. Will crest at 42.5 on the 16th. Natchez 46.9 up 0.4. Will crest at 49.5 on the 17th. New Orleans is 13.5 up 1/10. Greenwood 29.8 up 2/10. Yazoo 28.5 up 7/10. Pearl and Jackson at 4 o'clock 15 even up 5/10. And the Barnett Reservoir 296 even and steady. The Big Black at Bovina steady at 30.6. All right, let's see what happened today. We had a 43. Now, that was the high, daytime high. Last night, we were in the 60s. The record this day is 78 in 1946. Right now, 40 degrees in Jackson, light drizzle. The barometer is falling, 30-20, 90% humidity, northwest winds about 9. Okay, let's take a look to see what's happened, what's going to happen. We talk about 2 frontal systems. The one front has already moved through our area, and you can see it. It's from the low in Georgia, a stationary front on out into the Atlantic, and a cold front right down into the Gulf, actually into the southern tip of Texas. That front came through, gave us the rain, the drizzle, the fog, and dropped the temperature. Got much colder this afternoon and will be again tonight, so please take all precautions. Tomorrow, it'll be a warm, well, let's say stationary tomorrow, coming through Georgia, Florida, into the Gulf, and move back up as a warm front, and this is why the weatherman's putting a chance of rain, light rain, staying with us for the next few days. We'll watch the movement of that front, as we say, about let's say Wednesday or Thursday. It will be a warm front moving back up into our area. Okay, let's take a look now and see what the forecast is going to give us. 20% chance of rain tonight with some dense fog possible, upper 30s, northerly winds 5 to 10, sunset at 5:11. Tomorrow, cloudy, 20% chance of rain, mid-50s, variable winds 5 to 10, sunrise in the morning 7:02. Okay, let's travel now and see what's going to happen around the country. But I want to remind the folks now, if they've got some suggestions, we open.
Absolutely.
Just
we want to hear from you.
That's right.
If there's something you think we should be doing on this program, we're really open to it.
Right
It's
away.
so nice to be here. And it's nice to be back with you, Maggie.
Thank you very much.
We did this, what, 5
years
6
ago.
years ago?
Yeah, about 5 years ago.
On the 10 o'clock.
Wonderful to be with you again, Bert.
Well, it's certainly a pleasure. And we're glad to have Walt Grayson with us.
You're right, and we're...
I just want you to know that when I was a small boy, I used to watch you do the 5 o'clock news here.
Sounds like trouble to me. Well, thank you both. And Walt, you've been traveling around the state to bring us a report on the state of blues in Mississippi.
Yeah, you know, blues really is just now coming into its own up in the Delta also. The blues has always been there, but it's really being recognized for what it is now. You know, Mississippi's been the springboard for all kinds of music. We've got Jimmy Rogers in country music. He's from Meridian. We've got, of course, Bo Diddley and Elvis and rock and roll. And then in blues, as far as that goes, we've got, gosh, we got everybody. It's the foundation of all other American music. As far as the founders of blues is concerned, we've got them all right here in Mississippi. Look at this. Well, the old saying is the Delta starts in the lobby of the Peabody Hotel in Memphis and stretches all the way to Catfish Row in Vicksburg. Well, maybe in a geographical dimension, but in Seoul, the Delta starts on the back porch of some cotton patch house and goes completely around the world. Because the voice of the Delta, the blues, first sung out over 100 years ago, is still singing and attracting more and more converts. What is the blues, anyway?
It's just blues is a heritage, and it's its own kind of body of literature. It's a history.
Connection to American music is preserved in the Delta Blues Museum in Clarksdale. Sid Graves is with the Clarksdale Public Library and oversees the Blues Museum.
The music came out of hard times, and it still represents and deals with the agony of pain and so many sad parts of life, but that it created America's music.
Created American music? Well, there's really no doubt about it. George Gershwin credits W.C. Handy's inspiring his Rhapsody in Blue. The connection to rock and roll is just as apparent.
Muddy Waters said that the blues had a baby and they called it rock and roll. The Rolling Stones took their name from a song by Muddy Waters.
There's really no telling what American music would have sounded like without the blues influence. Music born in hard times in the Delta and then taken up north to Memphis, St. Louis, and Chicago as blacks migrated looking for a better life. It's now well woven into the fabric of America. And no matter what claim northern cities may have to the blues, home is the Delta.
I read an article where someone said Clarksdale is to the blues as like the Vatican is to the Pope.
And now with this worldwide acceptance of the blues, the Delta needs to turn the blues into a cash crop, much like New Orleans has jazz. I'm Walt Grayson, WLBT News.
Still ahead as the 5 p.m. report continues, hernia repairs are faster and easier these days. We'll tell you why.
But first, getting the most flavor out of your coffee in an instant.
We went to the fight capital of the world and asked the fans, who's the greatest heavyweight ever?
By far, it's Muhammad Ali.
Ripping punches, Muhammad Ali. The challenger goes down again.
Muhammad Ali.
Who's the heavyweight champion of the world?
Sports Illustrated presents Muhammad Ali, the video. See his pro debut, his fights with Liston, Foreman, Frazier, Spinks, and more. And the video is free with your paid subscription to SI.
Get it and find out who the greatest of all time is.
A short, jolting right to the jaw. Liston goes down.
The man, he jabbed, fought, he danced.
He float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
Keep the camera moving because I'm kind of fast.
A sharp right and fully goes down.
It brought back memories, things I'd seen and hadn't seen. All the fights, all the interviews. Muhammad Ali, he took them all on.
Sonny Liston, Bombino, George Foreman, Joe Frazier.
Naming the round and all that. People thought that was a fluke.
He wanted to go to heaven, so I took him himself.
You don't see boxers like that anymore.
And George Foreman goes down. Foreman goes down like a tree struck by lightning.
And the Muhammad Ali video is free.
That video's free?
Can't be. How can it be free?
It's free when you subscribe to Sports Illustrated. Save over 50% off the cover price.
Oh, I'd go for it in a heartbeat. It's something to look into.
You'll get 23 issues, including the baseball preview and the swimsuit issue for 3 monthly installments of only $9.89. Or you can pay by credit card, so call now.
One of the greatest magazines that's been around this country since day one.
Kind of like Muhammad Ali, it gives you everything.
Come on, girl. We in Manila.
You relived great memories of the greatest champion ever.
To view the legend in the tape was fantastic.
People who never had seen Ali would love this tape.
Yes, I recommend it for anybody.
You can't walk away from this tape without being a Muhammad Ali fan.
I'm the king of the world. Hold it. Hold it. You're not that pretty. I'm a bad man.
Call our toll-free number now and get knockout savings on Sports Illustrated and get the Muhammad Ali video free.
I shook up the world.
If you like your coffee in an instant, there's a host of brands to choose from.
But which instant coffee comes closest to the taste of freshly ground coffee? Julie Nicholson of Consumer Reports has the answer.
Maxwell House is blended with Colombian beans. It looks, smells, and tastes
like fresh ground.
From the commercials, you would expect an instant coffee to taste like fresh brewed. But does it? Consumer Reports put 35 instants to the test, including regular, decaffeinated, and freeze-dried brands. Expert tasters sampled hundreds of cups of coffee. They found that none could compare to ground coffee. Ellen Kloss was in charge of the testing for instant coffee.
The processing of instant coffee inflicts too much damage. Therefore, the coffees usually taste overcooked and grainy.
The best instants, says Consumer Reports, have some brewed coffee flavor.
A good instant coffee should have a sharp green coffee note and a clean woody aroma.
Surprisingly, some of the biggest selling brands were near the bottom of the ratings. Maxwell House, both regular and decaf, and Folgers Crystals, regular. But there's good news for decaf drinkers. Most decaf scored about the same as their caffeine counterparts. In general, the freeze-dried instants did well. They had more of a brewed coffee flavor. Top rated, Taster's Choice Regular. Taster's Choice with 50% less caffeine, and the freeze-dried version of Sanka. They had some real coffee flavor. This is Julie Nicholson.
And if you would like more information concerning instant coffee, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Consumer Reports, care of WLBT, Post Office Box 1712, Jackson, Mississippi 39215.
Doctors around the country are practicing a new way to operate on hernia patients through the use of scopes and tubes. The new procedure saves time for patients both on the operating table and in the recuperation process. And as Steve Gendell reports, this type of surgery could be opening doors for other types in the very near future.
Years ago, arthroscopic surgery revolutionized joint repair. Doctors could operate through tiny tubes. A large incision was no longer needed. Now, laparoscopic surgery may do the same thing for abdominal operations. In 1989, doctors began removing gallbladders through scopes and tubes. Now they can also remove an appendix this way. And the very latest entry, seen here at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica, is hernia repair. The advantage? You might say a stitch in time saves 9.
So that a patient with a standard hernia repair might be disabled or off of work an average of 16 days. A person with this procedure may only miss a day or 2 or 3 of work and have much less pain and disability.
Patient Larry Moss agrees because laparoscopic surgery eliminates the traditional 5-inch long cut at the top of the thigh, so recovery is virtually pain-free.
That's the amazing part about this particular type of surgery. Actually, I was up and walking around the day afterwards with my clothes on.
There are potential drawbacks. The surgery is very new. It should hold up as well as standard hernia repair, but only time will tell for sure. And for the surgeon, it is slightly more difficult since he has to approach the hernia from the other side.
And now you're coming around the back and looking at these structures from the rear. So there's somewhat more of a learning curve.
But with new equipment being developed for laparoscopic surgery and the shorter recovery time, Medical Tribune says laparoscopic hernia repair will be the operation in 1991. And keep a watch out for stomach, intestinal, and even some cancer surgery done this way without a large incision by 1992. Steve Gendell in Los Angeles for NBC News.
And still ahead in sports, it was chills and thrills at Mississippi State University last night, but the Dogs finally pulled it off in Starkville.
Sound quality is amazing.
It sounds so great.
No scratches at all.
That's when music was music.
It's got everything.
Ramblin' Man. Benny and the Jets.
It's all on CDs.
Introducing Entertainment Weekly's Rock Archive CD collection. It's free with a paid subscription to Entertainment Weekly.
Everybody's doing a brand dance now.
These drum licks are just thundering in here.
This exclusive Rock Archive collection has 30 of the most listened to hits from the 60s to today, remastered and compiled for the first time on 2 beautifully produced CDs or 3 audio cassettes. And the Rock Archives will sound even better when you hear that it's free.
What?
And do I have to pay taxes on it?
It's free when you subscribe to the magazine everyone's talking about, Entertainment Weekly, at a savings of almost 50% off the cover price.
Entertainment Weekly is the postmodern farmer's almanac.
It's a great magazine.
Entertainment Weekly is like a quick fix on what's out there.
It's concise, it keeps me current.
I love the picture. Get kind of the behind-the-scenes look.
It cut to the chase. I want to talk about music and movies.
I like it because I don't have to be hip.
Entertainment Weekly's more than great reviews. It gives you the inside scoop and a behind-the-scenes look at movies, television, videos, books, and more. Call right now and get 18 issues for 3 monthly installments of only $5.99 each. Or use your credit card today.
Do you think that's really how people walk in Egypt?
Call right now, and you'll also get Entertainment Weekly's Rock Archives, 30 classic rock hits on 2 CDs or 3 audio cassettes, and it's free.
Things like this don't happen to me. It's stupendous. It's outrageous.
Totally awesome.
It's inexplicable. How could you beat that?
Wishing I was Rod Stewart waking up with Maggie May.
So call and subscribe today. You'll save almost 50% on Entertainment Weekly, and you'll also get the Rock Archive set free.
It didn't take 4 overtimes this year, just 1, but Mississippi State and Ole Miss gave the crowd its money's worth and then some Sunday night. In a Starkville cliffhanger, the Bulldogs emerged a 4-point victor. Ed Fiddler has this report.
Big doings at the hump, and no one left disappointed. Mendenhall's Brad Smith for 2 of his 18. Tim Jumper with just 4 points for Ole Miss, but this deuce helping the Rebels to a 35-37 halftime lead. Jumper fouled out late in the game and watched the Rebels take this one down to the final bell. Joe Harvell was the man for Ole Miss. Harvell with 26. This bucket giving the Rebels a 72-70 lead with 10 seconds to go. State inbounds, and Cameron Burns will be fouled. Ed Murphy couldn't believe it. The game then in the hands of the East Floor product, who calmly hit uno. And more importantly, dos. That's clutch, baby. Burns finished with 14. We're on to overtime, tied at 72. Doug Hartsfield then scored 6 points in the final minute and a half to help Mississippi State improve to 9-2. 84-80 overtime winners over Ole Miss.
Mississippi State coach Jackie Sherrill has hired 2 more assistants to his Bulldog staff and said the final 3 positions will be filled sometime this week. Sherrill said today he would retain Jim Tompkins and Rick Trickett as respective coaches for the inside linebackers and the offensive line. Both Tompkins and Trickett have been members of the Bulldog staff since '89. One of the 3 positions yet to be filled reportedly will be filled by a current Mississippi high school coach. Hattiesburg's Willie Coates, Tupelo's Ricky Black, and Meridian's Mac Barnes have all interviewed with Sherrill. It didn't take long for the New England Patriots to find a new coaching staff there. Just 3 days after firing Rust as the head of the Pats, they've interviewed Syracuse coach Dick McPherson as Rust's replacement. The 60-year-old NFL coach has experience in both Denver and Cleveland. He inherits a club which posted just 1 win in 16 tries this past season. In 17 seasons as a college head coach, McPherson had a record of 111, 73, and 5. McPherson, who has the club's #1 choice for the position, becomes the New England's 3rd head coach in the last 3 years. Without much fanfare at all, baseball's all-time hitter has left a federal prison camp in Marion, Illinois. Pete Rose, who had just completed a 5-month sentence for income tax cheating, will spend the next 3 months at a halfway house in Cincinnati, followed by 9 months of probation. The former Reds skipper, Charlie Hustle, said freedom felt great, but didn't make any other comments as he left the prison administration building this morning. Michael?
And we're busy working on the 6 p.m. report. Marcia Pollock is in the newsroom with an update. Marcia.
Thank you, Maggie. And Bert, a baby taken away from her mother last year in a highly publicized child abuse case, may have suffered abuse once again. Tonight at 6, we'll follow up this story and let you know the latest. Also, Hinds County supervisors appear to be in the mood to let residents decide where to put that highly controversial new jail. And some state workers are seeing red over the latest round of budget cuts. We'll have these stories and much more tonight at 6 following Tom Brokaw and NBC Nightly News. Maggie?
And thank you, Marcia. And Bert, felt good.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us.